Hello everybody! Welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing an analysis of The Glory Part 1 and also giving you some of my predictions for Part 2. Let's get into it. In Part 1 of The Glory, we are introduced to our badass main lead, Moon Dong-eun, and also 5 of her main abusers from high school. We have Park Yeon-jin, Chun Jae-jun, Chae Jung, Isara, and Son Myung-ho. These 5 monsters, okay. So part 1 seems to be largely built around the visual storytelling and the character building. It really lays down the foundation for the revenge to really explode in part 2. We are introduced to Dong-eun's incredible work ethic, fueled largely by her need for vengeance and anger, but it's there, okay? We witness her struggle through balancing work, studying, trying to heal her physical and her mental trauma, as well as meticulously planning out this revenge that will ruin everybody's lives. How does she do it? While all of this is happening to Dong-eun, annoyingly, the main perpetrators and the bystanders of the incident are just living out their lives as normal, which infuriates all of us. Park Yeon-jin, as she expected, is married to a very wealthy man and is a famed weathercaster. Chun Jae-jun has inherited his parents' golf course, I think kind of doing drug trafficking on the side. Son Myung-ho is Chun Jae-jun's bitch. We have Ishara, she's doing art for the wealthy. And then we have Chae Jung, who is a flight attendant as she had hoped to become. We are also introduced to Hyun-nam and Yeojung. Hyun-nam is a woman who is getting abused at home by her terrible husband, and unfortunately her middle school age daughter is also part of this, so she is trying to get out of that situation. So she forms an alliance with Dong-eun. They form a pact. She's like, hey, Dong-eun, I'll help you with whatever you're doing if you help me kill my husband. And then we have Yeojung, who is the plastic surgeon. He has romantic feelings for Dong-eun, and he is heavily invested in her revenge. I think he's going to be a very big character in part 2 for this revenge to unfold. So aside from the character building, I think there are several symbols that we should pay attention to that might become important in part 2. So let's go through some of them. Number 1, we have the green heels. Yes, the infamous green heels. So far in part 1, we have seen 4 different ladies depicted with the green heels. Number 1, we have Park Yeon-jin, and she was given the shoes as a gift from her husband. We have number 2, Dong-eun. We first see her with the shoes when she's approaching Yesor at the playground the first time that they encounter each other. But we also see her trying the shoes on at Chejun's store when she first goes there to meet Son Myung-ho. So I believe that she owns a pair of them as well.
And number 3, we have Chae Jung, who claims that she bought the shoes when she was overseas in London.
And then lastly, we have Isara. She hasn't really been seen with the actual physical shoes, but she was seen frantically painting the green shoe for some reason. And it's just like, what do you know? Like, why are you, what? I think what might have happened is I think Isara was there to meet Son Myung-ho because she wanted more drugs. But whoever it was with the green heels that actually murdered him didn't know that Isara was there because maybe she was somewhere else. And then murdered Son Myung-ho, and Isara witnessed it. But she was so drugged up that maybe she just like is having weird dreams about it and is like painting about it. But who knows? We will find out in part 2. Symbol number 2. The angel's trumpet and devil's trumpet flowers that we are introduced to by Dong-eun's landlady. The first thing that popped up when I googled angel's trumpets and devil's trumpets is that they are actually highly poisonous plants. They can cause intense hallucinations and seizures and even death in some intense cases. You can also get poisoning of this plant through various methods. So it's whether by touching it, inhaling it, injecting it. I wonder if the flower's actual toxicity will have anything to do with the revenge in part 2. I don't know if it will be used at all, but we'll see. It is a hallucinogen, so I feel like it would be interesting for that to be used. We can also see these flowers on the individual actual posters of each character. The color of the flowers and each character's gaze seem to symbolize their allegiance to either Park Yeon-jin or Dong-eun's side. For example, we see Park Yeon-jin's poster. She is shown with the yellow flower facing down, and she is seen, her gaze is looking up, as if to say, like, she has fallen because, you know, she's getting what she deserves, so she is like looking up to Moon Dong-eun, right? So Park Yeon-jin and her people, right? Yeah, Chae-jung, Isara, Chun Jae-jun, they are all looking up as if they've all fallen down, right? And they're all seen with the yellow flower. And the yellow flower is the angel's trumpet. An angel's trumpet grows looking down. Then we move on to see Dong-eun and her allies. And we see that they are seen with the white flower looking up. Those are devil's trumpets. The only exception from that is that Dong-eun is looking straight ahead. And I think that's to kind of say, like, she has neither fallen nor risen, because she was like broken such a long time ago that she kind of understands that there's really no going back for her once this revenge happens. Lastly, the most interesting poster, I think, is Ha Do-young's poster. We see that his flower is looking down as an angel's trumpet would, but the color of the flower is white, like a devil's trumpet. The direction of his gaze is also downwards, much like Dong-eun's allies. And I think this symbolizes that at first, Do-young will be on Yeonjin's side because he has a reputation to protect. He is concerned about perfection and image. However, I think he will start to realize that Park Yeon-jin and her friends are really actual monsters, and I think he's gonna switch over to Dong-eun's side. I think that's what the poster is trying to foreshadow. You know what I'm saying? So while I was writing this analysis, the part 2 special trailer came out. So you know that I had to go deep diving, which means I was like watching it at 0.25 speed like 20 times in a row to try to catch like details I might have missed. So the first thing I noticed about this trailer is that there's this orange-haired lady. Like, I'm like, who is this? And then upon looking, I see that it's Dong-eun's mother. And it seems that she has shown up, I don't know, drugged up, done a bunch of things, I don't know, but she has shown up in front of Dong-eun, I think, at the place of her work, because I see like 2 other people with Dong-eun on the side, and they seem to be carrying like little like binders or notebooks. I'm assuming they're also teachers. I believe Park Yeon-jin is going to use Dong-eun's mother against her to kind of tarnish her reputation or get her fired from school. Literally, in the very next scene, we see Park Yeon-jin smiling evilly with a literal gift bag full of cash. Like, who do you think that was for? Dong-eun's mom. So yeah, I think Park Yeon-jin is going to try to use Dong-eun's mom against her. The second thing I noticed is Hyun-nam. She seems to be like smiling, kind of like satisfied with something, but she looks messed up. Like, she looks like she got beat up pretty bad. But why is she smiling, right? So I started thinking, I'm like, maybe the plan worked and she finally killed her husband, or her husband was finally murdered or died somehow, and she's free of him forever. That would be amazing. Number 3, we see Yeojung as a plastic surgeon, and we see Park Yeon-jin as his patient. He seems to be holding a syringe, and she seems to look very scared. And I'm like, what's happening here? And this is a really big reach, okay? But remember when I said the angels and devil's trumpet flowers are hallucinogens? What if they're using like extracts of that flower and then injecting her with it to say like this is a beauty treatment and whatnot to slowly make her go crazy? That would be wild. That would be wild, and if that was correct, I think I should be hired to write dramas. Alright, moving on. Number 4, we see Park Yeon-jin here, looking freaking manic, almost like giving up on life, kind of crazy, sitting in the middle of her walk-in closet. She's holding this little pin thing, and at first I thought it was like Yeso's hairpin, but then I looked closely at it and it seems to be more like rectangular, like a straight rectangular figure. So I feel like it's probably Yoon So-hee's name tag, and that seems to be a lot of other people's opinions as well. So I think that Yoon So-hee's murder is finally going to come to light, and Yeonjin is going to be the main suspect for this. Number 5, some guy falling from a really high place. He has a long overcoat and some like long hair, and that makes me think, is Chejun. Is Chejun gonna die? Is Chejun gonna get paralyzed? Is Chejun gonna be part of some elaborate plan, and is that why he looks like messed up in one of the trailers? Number 6, we see Park Hyun-jin like looking frantically for something or someone with some police in the back. This kind of made me think, okay, like did something happen to Yesol? Or did something happen to either Boyoung or Chejun? Makes me think maybe more on the Chejun side because we just saw that dude fall. But maybe something happened where Park Hyun-jin was diagnosed to be unfit to be a mom or something and she's getting Yesol taken away from her. Not sure, but I'm expecting the worst here. So number 7, we also see a very brief flash of Ishara. It seems like she has bleached blonde hair. She pretty much has no eyebrows, or it seems like she bleached her eyebrows, and she looks like she's being like thrown on the ground or something, and there's like flashes of lights everywhere. Bleaching your hair is something people do to pass the hair follicle drug test. Typically, traces of drugs can remain in your hair follicles for up to like 90 days, and several bleaching attempts would erase any traces of drugs. However, remember when Hong-eun went to demand cash from her at the church? She ripped out some of her hair. I believe that hair with the drug logbook that she got from Son Myung-ho is going to be the combination that takes Ishara down. I don't know if that demise will also link with Chejun, because since Chejun was the one supplying drugs to Son Myung-ho and Son Myung-ho was supplying drugs to Ishara, right? Could happen. And lastly, I also believe Hong-eun will use the information of Yeonjun's mom and the shaman and the weird corrupt cop to bring down that weird trafficking thing they have with women. That is going to be Yeonjun's mom's downfall, probably. We see briefly that Yeonjun's mom looks very distressed. She's like screaming or whatever. So I am hoping we see her demise as well, because that lady is pure freaking evil. Okay, and that is it for my part 1 analysis and part 2 predictions. I cannot wait to see everyone's lives explode and also implode. It's like a really bad train wreck that you just can't look away from because it feels so freaking satisfying. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'd love to see your comments and personal predictions for The Glory Part 2 as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!